"Ma'am, you need to stop resisting and get on the ground." Judge Kesha Langford simply loaded shopping bags into her Mercedes until a vague, suspicious person call, a single officer, and 3 cameras made her rights vanish. When a black federal judge gets cuffed anyway, the city is forced to pay. But what set off this chain reaction, and why did everything unravel so fast? The call to dispatch described a suspicious person. No threat, no crime in progress, just a black woman seen near a row of high-end cars. Officer David Hutchkins, 37 years old, with 8 years on the force, responded alone. His patrol vehicle rolled into the nearly empty mall parking lot, dashboard camera running. Overhead, a security camera covered the scene, while a bystander across the lot began filming on a phone. Hutchkins stepped out, hand resting on his belt, and approached Judge Kesha Langford as she loaded bags into her Mercedes. He asked for her identification, citing the vague report, but offered no details about what was actually suspicious. The law says police need specific facts, what courts call reasonable suspicion, before detaining someone. Here, there was only a hunch and a description. Judge Langford, calm and direct, asked what crime was being investigated. Hutchkins repeated the dispatch language, his tone stiff. 3 cameras caught every word as the encounter began to escalate, with no clear reason for the stop. Langford reached into her purse and produced her government-issued ID, holding it out for Hutchkins to see. The badge and federal credentials were unmistakable. She stated in a steady voice that she was a sitting judge, and she asked again for a clear reason for the detention. Hutchkins ignored the ID, said she fit the description, and demanded that she step away from her car. Langford refused to consent to a search, citing her Fourth Amendment rights. She warned the officer that detaining her without cause could violate clearly established law, language any officer should recognize. Hutchkins grew more forceful, ordering her to turn around and put her hands behind her back. Langford, hands visible, stood her ground. Hutchkins called out, "Stop resisting," as he grabbed her arms and snapped on handcuffs. She repeated that she was not resisting and that everything was being recorded. Hutchkins announced she was under arrest for interfering with an investigation, even after confirming her identity. The cameras captured every word and every movement as Langford was led away in cuffs. At the station, the booking officer Rodriguez paused as he examined Judge Langford's federal credentials. Within minutes, Lieutenant Freeman entered the room carrying a printout from the Department of Justice database. The atmosphere shifted. Langford, still in handcuffs, calmly repeated her demand for a supervisor and for all video evidence to be preserved. Freeman apologized, saying the error was unacceptable and promising a full review. Rodriguez unlocked the cuffs and handed Langford her belongings. She had spent 2.5 hours in custody, never charged, and never told exactly what she had done wrong. Before leaving, Langford requested copies of all body camera footage, security camera footage, and radio logs, making it clear she intended to pursue every legal remedy. The chain of custody for the evidence was carefully documented at her insistence. That demand would later prove essential, ensuring no part of the record could be altered or lost. With her release, the case moved from police hands into the legal arena, where every second of video would matter. Judge Langford's first call after leaving the station was to her attorney. Within 48 hours, a federal civil rights lawsuit hit the docket, naming the city, the police department, and Officer Hutchkins. The complaint spelled out violations of both the 4th and 14th Amendments, an unlawful seizure based on race, with no crime alleged, and an arrest that ignored clear evidence of innocence. Langford's legal team moved fast, attaching synchronized video from the body camera, mall CCTV, and the bystander's phone. Clips spread across social media, showing Langford calmly asserting her rights as Hutchkins ignored her badge and handcuffed her anyway. Hashtags calling for accountability trended nationwide. Within days, city attorneys reviewed the footage and advised the mayor that defending the case in court was nearly impossible. The risk of a public trial, with a sitting federal judge as plaintiff and every second of video on display, loomed large. News outlets picked up the story, and civil rights groups demanded answers. The lawsuit transformed a single act of bias into a national flashpoint, putting the department's practices under a harsh spotlight. Internal Affairs launched a full audit of Officer Hutchins's record. The numbers were stark. Black drivers accounted for 2.8 times more of his stops than department averages, and his search rate for black drivers was 3.4 times higher. Supervisors had overlooked these patterns for years. A mall security manager quietly told investigators that calls about suspicious black shoppers were routine, and they rarely led to any crime. As public outcry grew and media coverage intensified, the department moved to terminate Hutchins. The Justice Department opened a pattern and practice investigation, citing statistical evidence of racial bias in stops and searches. Federal monitors demanded new oversight, mandatory bias training, and public reporting of stop data. A consent decree forced the city to adopt early warning systems to flag officers with outlier records. Facing the threat of trial, the city agreed to pay $675,000 to settle Langford's suit. At her request, the full amount was donated to local civil rights and legal aid groups. Even judges aren't immune to biased policing. Every year, thousands of Americans face stops just like this, without cameras, lawsuits, or headlines. Justice demands more than payouts. It demands change.